And now we will continue with the next presentation by Jette Rygaard and Susan Vanek. I just want to tell that you, Jette, you are a professor Emerita at Ilisimatusarfik, the University of Greenland, and you, Susan Vanek, you are a Ph.D. fellow at the State University of New York. I know both of you from your great and fine research on children and vulnerable groups in Greenland, and I look really forward to listening to your presentation. So please, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Jette Rygaard, and thank you to Marianne and the organizers to make this wonderful roundtable as a wonderful break in this Corona isolation. I have been employed in 27 years in Greenland as a professor and researcher in media and literature, and I have a PhD on children, young people, and the media in Greenland. I have been a part of this sustainable, these children in the Arctic for some years, and also on the Rockwell Kent project together with Susan Vanek, who I am presenting with today. I left Greenland 1 year ago, and I miss it terribly.
My name is Susan Vanek. I completed my master's degree at University of Alaska Fairbanks. And as Peter said, I'm currently a PhD candidate at Binghamton University. That's part of the State University of New York system. I've worked in Greenland probably over the last 10 years. I've been part of the Kent project with Jette, and my PhD research is in Greenland. And today we're going to briefly talk to you about encouraging self-representation among children and its relationship to traditional knowledge in the contemporary world.
As you all know, it's very important for Greenlandic children to express themselves about their lives, their friends, their family, their dreams, and their future, and not the least to be creative. Some of the children we have worked with live in relatively small communities, as you will see later, and it is not always that inspirations come quickly to them from the outside. One of the ways they can express themselves as young people in the Arctic is also by taking photographs, and they love it. All of them have a mobile phone. Many share their photos and thoughts on the social media, that is, when they have internet access, which is not always. Children and young people in our project have shared their pictures with us, and they will appear in a beautiful picture book that they will all get in a little while. Many of the pictures have already been displayed at various exhibitions, and more are coming when the world is normal again.
Okay, so if traditional knowledge is connected to a whole way of being, a way of knowing and interacting with the world that is laced throughout everyday life, it's connecting the past to the present and carrying both into the future. Traditional knowledge is not static or confined, it's active and dynamic, incorporating not only knowledge and respect of the land and animals, but also respecting each other, relationships and caring, openness, inclusivity, community and family, working together in consensus, action and creativity, resourcefulness and innovation. Self-expression carries this dynamic way of life and knowing forward in the world. Self-expression is a vehicle for traditional knowledge. With the massive changes occurring throughout the Arctic, the children in the region today will have vastly different lives than the generations before them, but they also have access to new technologies and means of expressing themselves, their culture, and carrying their traditional knowledge into the future. Encouraging children to express themselves through these technologies provides them not only with a means of coping with their changing world, but also gives them another means of carrying their traditional knowledge forward with them through new media, art, and photography. Now, we would like to provide some examples of this from our recent NSF project. So our project was the Rockwell Kent project. It was a collaborative project combining visual, historical, and anthropological methodologies to approach how social, cultural, environmental changes and continuities are constructed and experienced in Greenland. It used the work of Rockwell Kent. He was an American artist and photographer that lived in Greenland in the 1930s as a springboard. We used his photographs, his writings, and his paintings to talk with people about changes that have happened, things that have stayed the same, and different things about their life and world. One component of this project was conducting photo workshops with children in the 4 communities we worked in: Echorsuit, Umanak, Sisimut, and Nook. When you work with children, they can be very influenced by adults, or they can be very restricted or scared of what to say. And we wanted to give them a vehicle to express themselves and not to feel so confined by us. So we conducted photo workshops. We set them up in advance. We had contacted principals, teachers, and parents to talk to them, get their input, find out if they would be interested in this sort of project. We met with them before we ever met with the children. And again, we went over what we were going to do, what we were going to teach, and what we're going to be done with the photos. And then we came back, introduced ourselves in classes. We worked in conjunction with the teachers. And the photo workshops consisted of 1 to 2 weeks in each of the communities with the different groups of children. We met with them. We gave them basic history of photography and photography in the Arctic, taught them about different photographic techniques. And then we sent them out with cameras and asked them to tell us about their life, their hopes, and their dreams through photography.
So I'm going to tell you a little about the photographs here. It's only a very, very small part of all the photographs taken. We have more than 10,000, but so it was difficult to choose. But here you see living with the traditional world, especially in the outer districts and small towns and settlements. Family often live quite traditionally. We see it in the children's pictures. We see how they go with their families on catch or on fishing. They have, in the dog district, often their own dogs, and many of the young people's pictures show this life with the much loved and photographed dogs and puppies, sleds, fish hang to dry, etc. Their pictures reveal much about the way of living around Greenland. Next slide, please. Yes. When children and adolescents took pictures, there were often many recognizable landmarks in their pictures. They were very proud of their country and their cities and were happy to show it off. They shot the beautiful nature in Diskuk Bay, the great icebergs, in Umanak, the hard mountains, as you see to the left, creatively showcased by someone who took a picture of someone who took a picture of the mountain. In Ilisimatusarfik, the village is once again creatively shown in the picture down to the left, shown as the backdrop for a piece of a whale bard found on the beach. Next, yeah. In the young people's pictures, we saw a lot of friendship, schoolmates, best friends who follow along on photo safaris. There was laughter and unity, fun, and a lot of selfies, alone or with a bunch of friends. A lot of them were staging creative plays. They played strong women who lift a stone or caught the sun in their hand, as you can see in the picture in the conclusion. Pure joie de vivre and excess. Next.
Traditional knowledge wasn't a stated goal of our project, but it emerged over and over again through these pictures. Not just through the photographs like you've seen of the landscape or the living world, but also through displaying community, traditional foods, and family. They were laced throughout all the photos. And working together, which again included family, including coming together for meals, playing together, working together on photographs, and working together in classrooms.
Here we see the pictures of resourcefulness, creativity, innovation, and especially empowerment. We proposed to the young people some subjects they could take pictures of, but with good Nikon cameras that had many functions, their enthusiasm and creativity was not easy to rein in, which we should not, of course. Therefore, among more common things like costume, fun, and crazy inventions, we also saw a lot of digitally manipulated photographs that were worthy as abstract works of art. However, not always so informative about society and life. On the other hand, these pictures showed how resourceful and inventive these young people are when set free. Next slide.
Outlets for self-expression are necessary for children and youth to both represent themselves, their culture, and their traditional knowledge, and to cope with their changing world. Self-expression and traditional knowledge are interconnected and support one another. This relationship can take many forms and incorporate new technologies. But it's always important to remember that we as researchers are in a role of power in these positions. And we have to make sure we give children and the communities we work with the freedom to say and represent themselves whatever way they would like. Fortunately, the children that were involved in the project didn't always do what we asked them to do, and through that showed us so much more than we ever thought they would. They told us about their lives, their traditional knowledge, and what it's like living in their world.
We wish to give special thanks to community of Ilisimatusarfik, Umanak, Sisimiut, and Nuuk, the local school, teachers, administrators, and all the students and their families, the U.S. National Science Foundation for supporting this project, Ilisimatusarfik, Rochester Institute of Technology, and Binghamton University for institutional support, U.S. Polar Civil Service Field Service for transportation and housing, Nikon for the donation of a variety of cameras used by students, but above all, the young people who shot all these incredible pictures and were so fun to work with. Thank you very much.